morning. Good morning. What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to MUFC versus everybody. I am your host, Sean. Thanks for joining me this morning for another United News Roundup. Before we get started, don't forget to like the video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, especially if you're new and you want to, catch every single video. Don't forget to hit the notification bell, right? If you want to be the first to know when new videos drop. And don't forget to go check out some of my other videos. We talk a lot about Eric Ten Hag. We talk a lot about transfer news. Obviously, match reactions, match previews. We'll do a FA Cup semifinal, a Coventry City preview probably tomorrow before we head into that match. And go check us out, MUFC versus everybody on Twitter as well. You can hear all sorts of my rants and ramblings. Most of it is just bashing Arsenal and Liverpool and City, but there's some United stuff thrown in there here and there too as well. So before we let's get started today. Just a little bit of transfer news, a little bit of former United midfielder news, some birthday wishes, and then maybe some new contract updates coming up. So first things first, though, I would be remiss in my role as a mental health professional if I didn't reach out to any Arsenal or City fans. How are you guys doing today? It was a bit rough. I was actually watching the Madrid City match at a pub near me, and it was tense viewing. It made for tense viewing, I think. I was watching it with a friend of mine. Big up Justin, big Real Madrid fan. I thought he was going to have a stroke or something. He was a bit nervous, especially when it went to pens. But my question is, and I already posted this on Twitter, are Arsenal fans ready to have a very difficult, uncomfortable, honest conversation about Mikel Arteta yet? Or are you guys still just kind of clinging to the process, clinging to this potential league that you guys think you might win, but you obviously won't? I mean, this could be another season without anything to show for it, basically, after, an eighth place finish, 5th place bottling the league. I mean, at what point are you guys going to be able to admit that maybe Arteta, while he's maybe done a good job in some regards in terms of style of play and, getting in a lot of young players, I think at one point are you able to admit maybe he is the guy before the guy in terms of getting Arsenal over that line? Just a thought. Also, did Pep cost City another Champions League with his decision making? We saw, against Chelsea a few years back, he made some odd changes, tactical changes going into that, cost them that Champions League final. Made some odd substitutions yesterday against Madrid that I think people can question, rightfully so. Was that the cause of it? I don't know. It's interesting. Some of those penalty kick takers did not look confident. Bernardo Silva in particular, that was not a good pen. Taking Haaland off was a bit of a question mark for me anyway. So is Pep, again, is it a case of him getting in his own head a little bit and therefore getting in his own way? City fans, is this season is just the league and potentially just an FA Cup? Is that enough after what you guys did last year? Some food for thought. Anyway, I can make myself available if you guys need to process any of these hard feelings after yesterday's results. Your fee will, of course, be double my normal rate, however. And Liverpool fans, that goes to you too. Feel free to reach out tonight after you guys are probably going to be knocked out of Europa League, failing to do it for Jurgen. Triple the rate for you, though, because reasons. And then one little piece, last little bit for Champions League, big shout out to Antonio Rudiger, by the way. He has got to be one of the best center backs right now, in my opinion. And what a steal he was for Real Madrid when they brought him in. He almost is, he's looked to me almost like a carbon copy of Sergio Ramos, just in terms of his attitude on the pitch. He's a fighter. He gets it. He doesn't shy away from anything. He takes the initiative. He attacks. He's got it all. And I think that he's probably been one of Madrid's best signings in a few years. And so big shout out to Antonio Rudiger. And also for Rodrigo. I think Vinny Jr. will obviously get a lot of the attention because it's Vinny Jr., but I think Rodrigo is massively underrated in terms of what he has brought and what he offers that Madrid side. He always seems to score in these big matches, especially in Champions League. We saw it last season, saw it yesterday. Such a good player, and I think that if they can keep him happy, if potentially Mbappe comes in and with Vinny and everything, I think that keeping him happy, getting him on par, pay wise with everyone else, is commiserate with what he's brought to them since he's arrived. And I think that Rodrigo is another one of Madrid's most important players, especially this season. So big up to Madrid. And hey, City fans, if you have a problem with me charging extra for your rate for any therapy, you can, of course, get your club to pay for it. It might be off the books, so we can add it to the list of charges in that case. But that's all right. You've got lawyers, apparently. Big shout out. Happy birthday to Donny van de Beek. He does turn 27 today. I know it seems like he's been here a minute. We signed him. He was pretty young when we signed him, and he's 27 now. It is a shame that it didn't work out for him at United. People who know me, people who followed me for a while know that I do rate him very, very highly. I've always rated Donny van de Beek. He has been one of the best young midfielders during that 18-19 era in football. And it's a shame. I think it was just not the right move for him to come to United at that time. I think that Ollie probably wasn't the best manager, best system for Donny van de Beek. We saw what he was trying to do. We saw what he was bringing from Ajax, and unfortunately, we weren't playing that way. And United teammates that he was playing with at the time just weren't on the same wavelength. And I don't think that it was an issue of Donny not kind of meeting the levels of United. I think it was just they're very different styles of play, and I think it just wasn't a good fit. And unfortunately, the injuries really hurt him as well. Haven't helped him at all. And so I think he's just ready to get United, kind of put it behind him, ready to move on. And hopefully he can find a place this summer if, he's not going to stick around anymore. So, but happy birthday to Donny van de Beek. I know it's not been great for you at Frankfurt or Eintracht Frankfurt, but hopefully, it doesn't hinder the progress too much. He's got, a young family, and I think he just wants to be happy. So happy birthday, bud. A little bit of transfer news. So obviously we talked a little bit about Rudy Galletti, who reported yesterday that United were looking to sell Antony. He's actually come out with another bit of transfer news regarding United. He's reported that we're also interested in bringing Barcelona defender Jules Koundé to Old Trafford. Remember, we were linked with Koundé a few years back when he was with Sevilla, and he ended up going to Barcelona. I think, according to Galletti, Koundé's versatility is what's supposed to be appealing to us. He could fill in easily at right back, and he can also play center back. I think that what Galletti is also saying is that United are ready to maybe part ways with Aaron Wan-Bissaka this summer, which is why Koundé's ability to play right back is appealing. I don't know if I would. I mean, obviously we need a center back. It is a bonus if he could play right back. And yeah, I do think of the two right backs that we have, Wan-Bissaka is probably the one that we would move on. I wouldn't have made it a priority this summer. I think it's one of those, if there's an opportunity, maybe you take it. But we'll see. I think what worries me about Koundé a little bit is just he's quick. I mean, he can pick a pass and he can get up and down the pitch, which is good for the high line we play. But we also do concede a lot of corners, and we're not great at defending set pieces. And I worry that he's 5'10", 5'11". And again, I know a lot of people like Jamie Carragher in particular were critical of Lisandro Martinez when we appointed him because he's too short. He actually wins a lot of aerial duels. I think that the problem is with two center backs around the short side is you do need somebody to be a little bit more of a demanding, physical, imposing presence to complement the other. And I don't know if two center backs who are under 6 foot is the wisest in this league, considering the set pieces and the corners. So something to keep an eye on. In other transfer news, Ben Jacobs is also reporting that United are expected to open talks with RB Leipzig this summer regarding Benjamin Sesko. We have been linked to Sesko in the past, but a lot of people have. Rasmus Højlund obviously does need support. We need a rotation option. We need something, if Højlund picks up injuries or vice versa. Sesko is good. He is quick. For a tall player. He does have a good finish on him. He's got a good touch. He's good technically as well. We'll see, though. It's going to depend on cost. Obviously, United are skint, and we do have a lot of priority positions. I know striker is one, but we'll see what that deal can get done. Usually it's not a cheap endeavor when you want to get a player from Leipzig who they've kind of brought through the Red Bull rankings. So one to keep an eye on. As far as United current squad is concerned, so Mark Critchley with The Athletic is reporting that United are expected to start negotiations with Willy Kambwala soon regarding a new contract. Kambwala has been impressive when called upon this season amidst our injury crisis, especially against Liverpool in the FA Cup. Obviously, he had that mistake against Bournemouth. Everybody makes mistakes. It's going to happen, especially for a young player. But he's been solid, and he's been a reliable, stand-in amidst this injury crisis that we've had. The article, The Athletic, goes on to say that the young defender has always been a warm and friendly presence around Carrington, around United. He always makes an effort to say hello to the staff and engage with people in conversations, not just, sitting on his phone somewhere, waiting for a ride. And that's a breath of fresh air as someone, who's seen, a lot of the way that the modern players can be. I'm not trying to stereotype. I'm just saying we've seen it, right? It's there. Someone who's worked with young people. I've been a young person. Like, I know sometimes how we can be, and that's refreshing, honestly. It will be interesting to see how Kambwala does the remainder of the season. Obviously, heading into next season, we're heavily linked with center backs. We've got a lot of center backs right now. We don't know who's going to stick around, who's going to go, but I don't see him obviously as a starting 11 regular. Is he good enough to fill in like third, fourth choice? I'd probably say yeah. The question is, would it be better for his development to stay and fill in as a sub or play some cup games or something, or maybe to go out on loan and develop and get regular minutes? That's one of those dilemmas, right, with young players. And I think that we often see some clubs hoard the players because they worry about injuries, but again, it kills the performance and the progression. So in any case, it's good that we're looking at, getting him a new contract because he deserves it. I think he's entering the final year of his contract this summer. So we'll want to get him locked in. I'm sure he and his agent are probably going to want assurances about minutes and things. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But he has, at least in my opinion, shown that he gets what it is to be a United player. He fights for the badge. He loves being here. And his performances so far have shown that, yeah, he deserves to be given a new contract. So we'll see what happens. So I don't know if any of you watch the Overlap on YouTube. I'm sure a lot of you do. It's very popular. It's Gary Neville's kind of show, podcast, etc., whatever you want to call that. But in the recent episode that dropped this morning, he interviewed former Bayern Munich midfielder and former United midfielder Bastian Schweinsteiger. It made for, well, let's say interesting viewing, to say the least. So if you remember, Schweinsteiger was clearly not in Mourinho's plans when Mourinho was appointed. But to hear Schweinsteiger share with Gary Neville how he was treated, he said he was prevented one day from even going into the dressing room by John Murtaugh, who stopped him and said, no, the manager says, you're out, without warning. So he had no idea what was going on. And then he was sent to train with the U16s, which is honestly a bit of a disgrace, the way that just went down from how Schweinsteiger describes it. He wasn't even allowed to go in and get to the dressing room and get his training gear. Murtaugh had to go grab that for him, he said. So that's a little embarrassing as a United fan to hear. So he spent 3 months in exile, pretty much. And then after that was kind of brought back into the first team because United were struggling. We needed some players. So he was eventually brought back in. Later on, he was then offered the chance to go to the MLS with Chicago Fire. He took it. He talked to Mourinho. So Mourinho, it was only then, though, that Mourinho apologized for basically banishing the World Cup winner to train with the youngsters. However, the way Schweinsteiger describes it, Mourinho sort of phrased it in a way that kind of made it seem like it was Schweinsteiger making the decision and pushing for the move, and Mourinho didn't want to stand in his way. Mourinho taking the honorable route, which obviously that's twisted because Mourinho basically banished him for 3 months. So I think that's the way Schweinsteiger described that. It definitely sounds manipulative for Mourinho, borderline gaslighting, in my opinion, which isn't surprising. It's no secret that I'm not really a big fan of Mourinho, just as his personality, his attitude, he's got some, I would call, narcissistic traits that he's shown over the years, not just at United. And, in narcissism, it's not just about attention seeking, despite what some people think. It's not just like, look at me, look at me. It is just, I've seen some of it in like Cristiano Ronaldo as well. Just this very lofty opinion, this gaslighting behavior, this, I don't listen to anyone's opinions unless they're on my level, or unless I deem them on my level. It's there's a lot that goes into it. You can look it up. But again, nothing that I say is meant to be taken as professional advice. Just some glimpses of what I've seen, and based on how Schweinsteiger describes it, it's not surprising. It's still sad and a bit disgraceful and embarrassing from United as a club, but not surprising given just Mourinho, given where things were then, given what we've been in the last 10 years and how we've been run. Just add it to the list, right? So we have some news regarding the FA Cup format starting next season. So Sky Sports reported today that the FA and the Premier League have agreed to get rid of replays altogether in the FA Cup from the first round onwards. That's going to be starting next season. So no more FA Cup replays. So furthermore, starting next season, all rounds will be played on the weekend, so no more midweek FA Cup ties. I know that typically the fifth round has always been midweek, or it's been like the last 4 or 5 years, the fifth round has always been midweek. So that's not going to be a thing anymore. This has also seen the Premier League remove that mid-season break. So remember this year they introduced the mid-season break. It was really just a week, middle of the season. So that's going to go away too. So all this is part of apparently a 6-year deal moving forward. And this was supposedly decided upon after receiving advice from various medical and technical departments in the league and whatnot. So from that little bit, it sounds like maybe the concern is player fitness, too many matches, too much football, which has been an issue. But at the same time, if that's the case, I think people should probably be pushing more against international friendlies and World Cups mid-season. I think that there's just too much football going on, and it's getting worse. We've seen players come out and complain about it. Rafael Varane obviously had comments about it earlier this season, and that's a bigger problem. I think it's focusing on the wrong thing. The problem is too much football. The problem is unnecessary football, and we need to address the too much football issue, not change the entire format of the FA Cup. In my opinion, it's like VAR. The focus should be on improving the quality and standards of refereeing, not bringing in technology that we can then blame, because no one's blaming. When you hear everyone complaining, it's not this official, it's VAR. It's like they've given it this strange identity when it's VAR is just the refs itself. So it's not the system, it's the individuals, but it's like we're focusing on the wrong part of the problem and not the core of it. So we'll see. I know a lot of people are not happy with this. I think it's unnecessary changes, but we'll see. I mean, less football could be good, but I think that moving everything in the weekends and stuff could cause a bit of a conflict with scheduling with league. So, and finally, we're going to talk a little bit with some fun, some positive United-related FA Cup news to end things on today. So Samuel Luckhurst has written that Sir Jim Ratcliffe is expected to be present for our United's semi-final match against Coventry City this weekend, which is good, right? He'll be in attendance following. He's also participating in the London Marathon. So busy guy. Finding time to do that after you're running a marathon compared to the Glazers, who I think I've only seen the Glazers at a United match when we won the Carabao Cup last season. It's the first time I've seen any of them present. Obviously, we've seen Ed Woodward at several matches, but the Glazers, so he's already endearing himself to the fans, Sir Jim, in that regard. But it's, we'll need to see more, obviously, heading into the summer and starting next season and the next few years. So, but again, that is a bit of positivity, right? A nice breath of fresh air. And ending on another positive note regarding United and the FA Cup, a fun little bit of trivia. United are playing in their 32nd semifinal this weekend. This is 2 more semifinals in the FA Cup than any other club. And if we do beat Coventry and make it to the final, it will be the 22nd final that we've played in for the FA Cup, which would be the most. We're currently tied with Arsenal, who also have 21. So again, United's history and prestige in domestic cups especially is unparalleled in that regard. And so nice little bit. Hopefully we can bring it home. Hopefully we can get to the final, and hopefully, we can get Ten Hag another cup. That would be a third cup final in his first 2 seasons, potentially a second cup in his first 2 seasons, which compared to a lot of the other managers, I mean, look at Jurgen Klopp, what he did in his first 2 seasons. What did Arteta do? What did Pep do in his first 2 seasons? I mean, that's a big deal. And whether or not it'll be enough to kind of sway or silence or even just quiet down some of the Ten Hag out crowd, who knows? I doubt it. But to me, that's a big step to go to win a Carabao Cup your first season, get third place, and then get the FA Cup in the second season. Obviously, our league table form is not great, but another domestic trophy and a better domestic trophy than the Carabao Cup, that's progress in my opinion. And we'll see if it's enough. I think it should be enough to keep him in the job, and I think that without it, he's on very, very thin ice. So that's the roundup for today. We'll see if anything else pops up throughout the day. If so, I'll obviously pop on later on to give you guys all the updates and the news. Otherwise, keep an eye out. Tomorrow, we'll probably do a combination roundup / FA Cup semifinal preview ahead of the Coventry match, obviously, and then be back, obviously, after the match on Sunday to talk about, the results, the performance, the scoreline, and everything. And hopefully it'll be to also look forward to a final, but with United, you never know. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you're new. Please go check me out on MUFC versus everybody. There's still some time to get in on my poll. I recently just threw a poll on there to see who people think we're going to lift the Champions League trophy this season. Obviously, you have PSG, Borussia Dortmund, Bayern Munich, and Real Madrid. It's funny to me, how I was talking, I think that PSG, I think this could be a year. Nobody voted for PSG so far. I think there's been like 13, 14, 15 votes so far from when I posted it late last night. I think Bayern Munich are ahead right now, but go check it out. Go leave a vote. Go leave a comment with your thoughts. Don't forget to leave a comment on the video. Don't forget the like button again. I love hearing your guys' thoughts and getting some feedback, and I will see you on the next one. Take it easy.